is preaching higher truth. All my fine musicians remind us of our youth. We are love. That's who we are right now. Right on now. We are love. We are love. Ooh, that's who we are right now. Join us. Awakening, awakening, awakening. Sing it along. Awakening, 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 awakening.
Wow, wow, wow. How many of you are here for the first time today? Do we have any first-time visitors today? You picked the right day to be here. We're on fire for Spirit. Yes. Let's give them some more love, you guys. Wow. Wow, oh wow. I feel like that could just be it, and so it is. And we're done. Let's go eat. Oh my goodness. Good morning, beloveds. Good morning. So we're still in July. It's been like the longest July of my life. There's been so much going on with Gourmets for God events and Sunday, right? 5 Sundays. This is the 5th one. Woo! We made it. It's summertime and there's a lot going on, right? How many of you were at the Gourmets for God event last night? Let me see a show of hands. Oh, cool. Yesterday morning, yes, 10 to 1 or whatever it was. Good. Awesome. So grateful. So for those of you who don't know what that is, we have Gourmets for God events that are put on by individuals or multiple people within the community, and then they create this event around food, and then people sign up for it, and there's a silent auction, and then the winners win, and then they get to have this fun event and spend time connecting, which is so beautiful because, you know, we come here on Sundays, and there's a message, and there's music, and we get to see each other, and then we got to be out of here at noon, don't we? And sometimes it feels a bit rushed, and so there are these brief moments where we get to connect on Sunday mornings, but then we have classes, which are usually 8 to 10 weeks, and it's in the classes that we get to go deeper, and we also have something called belonging circles, and these belonging circles are groups of usually between 8 to 12, but lately we have a couple of new ones that have formed that are like 18 to 20 people, which is amazing. Full list being like 32, so we've got the music as a spiritual practice belonging group, and we have this women's group. I can't remember, leaning and learning into aging or something to that effect. And these are beautiful. So these are opportunities to get with your spiritual community around a common interest. And then you get to go deeper and share on a spiritual level together. And then the Gourmets for God events are just fun events, like social events. And it was a fundraiser, and so it's like gathering for good, you know? So it's a beautiful thing. And so if you missed the Gourmets for God this year, don't worry, there's going to be more next year. And we're just really having a lot of fun with this. So Gourmets for God classes and belonging groups. You definitely want to try to get into belonging groups. I've seen quite a few of our new folks in these groups connecting, and that's where you really feel a sense of belonging, because again, on Sundays, it's a bigger group and it's briefly, so it's more time. So I definitely encourage those. Now, here we are, the last Sunday in July, and the topic today is the standing stones. And the theme for this month has been all about speaking truth to circumstance. not in the traditional way that we have heard it, but it's really about speaking truth to the circumstances and conditions in our lives that we would like to transform, yes? And so it's about that, and it's about us being able to stand in that truth and to know the truth, even when the circumstances and the conditions are not presenting that way, and sometimes we're not there yet, right? And so sometimes we're not there and we fall, but the point is to get back up, brush yourself off, connect with Spirit, and keep going, right? Because you are perfect, you are whole, you are complete. God loves each one of us exactly as we are and exactly as we are not, and something wonderful is happening, right? And so as we remember that, we can let go of the things that are no longer serving us and step into the truth, which is the light that we already are. Now, sometimes we face what seem to be walls of circumstance that are made of stone, right? Can anyone relate to that? There's like something, and it feels like there's this giant standing stone in our way. But these standing stones speak to us. So if we listen to what's standing in the way or what we think is standing in the way and speak back to them, then we begin to feel our way and move into the light of truth and understanding, and we realize the thing we think is in the way is actually the way. So that's the book of the month. Did we sell all the books of the month this month? One more left. Mary O'Malley's What's in the Way is the Way. And so oftentimes we'll say, oh, we're having this issue, so therefore we're going to, throw the whole thing out. It's the term, throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? That's a weird term, isn't it? Who would throw their baby out, first of all, and with the bathwater? So that's where that kind of comes from, but that idea of being able to see the circumstance and the condition that's in front of us and allow that to be our pathway to truth, right? Not always fun, not always pretty, but if we lean into it, it becomes beautiful, So that is a guarantee. Now, before I jump in, though, I love doing my summary of the month. So we've had 4 Sundays, so I'm going to catch you all up and give you a few reminders that we started in week 1, which was July 2nd, and we kicked off the month with Monsters, Inc. and Freedom, and that July 2nd was actually the first day of the second half of the year, and there was an invitation for everyone to consider what are the intentions that I have for myself in my life that I have set maybe at the beginning of the year, or at the end of last year for 2023, and where am I? What's mine to be, do, and have for the remainder of this year? We're halfway, right, at the halfway point. And to consider that, and then in that week I shared the story about my brother who went away, and I thought he was in Tahoe with a friend, but it turned out he was actually in juvenile hall, and that blew my mind because I had this whole story around where he was and what was going on, and I was living my life that way all the way up into like my late 30s. Yeah. And so how we perceive one thing is how we perceive everything. So it's not like you have this one belief or this one perception and it's compartmentalized. That perception it begins to be the way you view the whole world in every aspect of your life. So it was totally freeing for me to realize that. And then I shared about my ministerial licensing panel at Asilomar. And that was another example of, wow, I just had this thing in my back pocket that wasn't even true. And how we as humans do this thing where we collapse, we also collapse what happened and our story about what happened. Like something happened, you stubbed your toe, but your story about what happened would be like, that person put that in my way and how dare they? I can't believe they did that again and I'm so mad at them and why would they do that? Right? That's my story about what happened. What happened is you stubbed your toe. There was something there and you didn't see it, you stubbed your toe. So when we collapse the thing that happened with our story about it, there's that little sliver, that little almond in between, and that's the suffering. So we can let go and dissolve that suffering by pulling them apart. What happened? My story about what happened. And the story about what happened, we are creative, right? We get so creative with our stories, don't we? Like we can really go, yeah. But let's use that creative energy to create what we want to experience, not around a drama. It's just our nature as humans. We just can go off the deep end, right? But let's use that energy to create the goodness, the miraculous, the beauty and love that we want to see and experience in our life. That's where that make your problems worthy of your life statement comes from, right? And so then there was Byron Katie's The Work, which asks 4 questions. Is it true? Can you absolutely know that it's true? And how do you react, or what happens when you think about that thought? And who would you be without that thought? What would your life be like without that thought? That's liberating. And the answer is always some form of freedom, right? So that was week 1. That was a powerful week. And then we got to week 2, which got me hypnotized. And that was a discussion about how all of our self-talk is hypnosis. I'm tired, I'm sad, I'm lonely, I'm not enough, right? Blah, blah, blah. And so it is, you know? And then we talked about how what we're thinking about and what we're speaking about is drawing more of it into our lives. And so we want to actually be conscious about what it is we're speaking and thinking and sharing, right, in our world. And so also that many individuals are walking around in a trance of conditioning. So they're walking around in this trance, this hypnotic trance of what society has told them, what they've watched on the news, what their parents have taught or their community, and they're not really in touch with their higher selves, right? And so this is not a great way to live. And this is not our truth. This is not happening for us, not here, because we all woke up a while ago, and we're seeing this distinction of the trance versus the awaken, and we continue to say yes to a greater awakening for ourselves and our lives. Can I get an amen? Amen. Is that right? Yes. And so we vowed on that Sunday to stop telling ourselves the things that are not the truth. I'm tired, I'm lonely, I'm misunderstood, I'm in trouble, offended, I'm a victim, I'm too fat, I'm too thin, I'm too old, I'm too young. No. Cancel. Bah! Remember that Family Feud? Bah! Cancel. It's not the truth. And then there was the conversation about the cowboy watching a movie, and way back in the day when movies first came out, and the cowboy saw something that wasn't right, he didn't agree with on the screen, and he reached out to the screen and tried to, grab the guy or erase him or whatever he was doing. But the problem with that is you can't change the projection on the screen. You have to change what's being projected. So the film needed to be changed, or what's in us needs to be changed. So we look around our lives and we see and experience what needs to change within us, And then Rumi, love Rumi. He said, the breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell us. Don't go back to sleep. Spirit, God, the thing itself, whatever you call it, right? It has things to share with us, but we're awake and we need to stay awake to it. We can't just go back to sleep. We can try, but it'll keep nudging, And then that was week 2. Then week 3 was standing on Shiva. Now that was an interesting and fun week. So from the Gospel of Thomas, when we find the truth, we will be troubled. Then being troubled, we will be amazed and rule over the entirety. And so this week was all about how the spell of illusion can sometimes drive us crazy. It seems like there's so much to do, so many demons to slay, and we can get pulled off of the knowing of our truth, but we're called to remember our 10 spiritual principles, and we sent those out as a reminder. But those are oneness, love, creation, the triune nature of God, the creative process, spiritual laws, spiritual beings, freedom, heaven, and eternal life. And then we use those as a portal to to go through to bring us back to truth, to remember the truth of who we are. And that was also the week when Jamie Lula was here, and I shared about the saying in the Hawaiian culture that is Amama Ua Noa, and that means the taboo is lifted. So it's frequently used at the end of prayer in the Hawaiian culture in connection with the word Noa, meaning free, Amama Ua Noa. When you feel stuck, Amama Ua Noa. When you're feeling like the things around you and the demons are really coming up, Amama Ua Noa. When we feel stuck, Amama Ua Noa, and know the truth of who we are. And then Travis and Jamie performed that amazing Amama Ua Noa song at the end of the service, and it was so powerful. And as you're saying Amama Ua Noa, imagine yourself standing on Shiva. You are free. I am free. And the story was that Shiva came in, Kali, right? Kali was the goddess who started slaying all the demons, so to speak, in Hindu mythology, right? We're talking Hindu mythology, okay? They have things called demons. And so she was slaying them, and then she just went off the rails and started slaying everybody. And Shiva was like, hey, whoa, 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 whoa. And Shiva flew in and went right under her feet, and then she calmed down and found her center, came back to the truth, right? That's us, yes? Standing on Shiva, Amama Ua Noa. This is our incantation. So that was week 3, and then last week, week 4, was the wise warrior. So now that we have this tool, right, standing on Shiva and Amama Ua Noa, we are recognizing ourselves as the wise warrior or the champion of truth that is focused and does not get ensnared by smallness. This warrior is going for greatness, like the well-trained martial artist. When the wise warrior or champion of truth walks into the bar of life, no one picks a fight with them. Why? Their presence is enough. They are solid. They are like truth itself, unmessable with. Right? You guys loved that. I know. Unmessable with, because they are so centered and anchored in the truth, you know? And some of us may not be there yet, right? So we still get triggered, don't we? I mean, I know I do, and there's like, I'm the wise warrior, and I'm anchored in truth. I'm Reverend Elizabeth, you know? And then, whoops, something happens, something triggers me, and then I sort of fall, but I get back up and remember the truth. That's what we have to do. And so Ernest Holmes observed that one alone in consciousness with the infinite constitutes a complete majority, right? If you feel alone, bring yourself to the infinite presence of love. You sometimes have to release ego and allow yourself to just be raw and have that presence and beauty of love in the moment and surrender, yeah? Oh, yes. And so then there was the sharing of Obadiah Harris and Ernest Holmes, and how Ernest and Obadiah were in a car, and it was like a new car, and Ernest was playing with the buttons and everything, and then he somehow cut his pinky finger, and Obadiah saw the blood come out, and he was freaking out, and they pulled over, and then Ernest Holmes just did that, and then there was no blood, and Obadiah was totally freaking out now. He's like, what happened? I just saw that. This is so bizarre, right? And he was just totally freaking out. And Ernest Holmes said, if you have access to your innermost self, you can change the outcome of a situation. Now, whether that sounds woo-woo to you or not doesn't matter, right? Like, why not try this at home? You know? Why not? Yeah, I mean, don't go cut yourself on purpose, but if something comes up in your life, see if you can have access to your innermost self. Sometimes you can't, but sometimes you can. And what if you kept trying for that, right? What if you kept that as your aim? Well, the world would be a mighty and magnificent place if we were all doing that. And I know we can. And so I also shared about how when we stop telling God how big our problems are and start telling our problems how big our God is, we become even greater as a wise warrior, right? We stand as these wise warriors, practitioners of truth, aligning with and becoming the infinite power of God. And then there was Nehemiah. There was a lot of rich content last week. Nehemiah, I'm doing a great work. I can't come down right now. They were trying to get him to come down and, they were trying to trick him, and he was saying, no, I'm doing this great work. And they were able to build the walls of Jerusalem back up in like 52 days or something like that. And lastly, it was about stopping the trigger, to check out, stop that habit of checking out and to start checking in. Check in with yourself, check in with the God of your understanding, but you don't have to check out. And so what a beautiful thing that is, what a gift it is to know and remember that this love of spirit that I know and believe is right here, right now, and it is in me, as me, and through me, just as it is in, as and through each one of us. And it is powerful, and I can check in and be fully present. And everyone agreed. So here we are in week 5, right? So week 5, it's very interesting, right? So there's the standing stones. Now, with every form, I love Ernest Holmes says that spirit is forever taking form and forever deserting the form which it has taken. And so with every form, there are people who are happy with it, and then there are people who are unhappy with it, or people who just don't care, right? And there's form. No one circumstance is right or wrong over the other. But last year, I know many of you remember when the U.S. Supreme Court struck down Roe versus Wade. And in 1973, when the Supreme Court found in favor of Roe and anti-abortion laws were struck down, many cheered, but many others cried, right? And then the ones who were cheering saw it as a step forward, while those who cried viewed it as a step backwards. And then in 2022, just last year, those who cheered back in the day, back in the 70s, were crying, and those who cried were now cheering. Interesting, isn't it? And so this is a great awareness for us to have, that the same idea of steps forward and backward are being advanced. Many thought that Roe versus Wade was forever, and now many people who supported striking it down now think that's forever. But as Jesus said, heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall never pass away. This means that nothing on this earth is eternal, right? It's not. The circumstances or set of circumstances are not eternal. So this alone should allow us and inspire us to rise up and to not get caught up in that wall of circumstances and conditions, but to anchor our minds in the absolute, the real infinite presence that is here right now. Are you guys with me? Yes. All right. Yes. Awesome. So, one alone in consciousness with the infinite constitutes a complete majority. This powerful statement, as a reminder, gives us direction and a knowing of how to face the standing stones, right? You come to a standing stone. I was talking with Gina before the service, and she was saying, yeah, you could just go around it. A standing stone right here, You talk to it, and you know that you are one in consciousness with the infinite, and therefore you are a majority. This stone has no power over you. This circumstance has no power over you. This condition has no power over you. Whatever that experience is, it has no power over us, right? We are one alone in consciousness with the infinite, and we are a majority. And that is so empowering. So when the stones speak to us of our limitation, because that's what they do, and that's why we get scared of them. There's something standing in the way, and then it's like, oh, I think it's right. It must be true. Here it is. It must be real. That must say all of these things about me, meaning-making machines, right? But if we could let that story quiet and become present to what's happening right now, knowing that the infinite presence is here right now, we will find our strength. And this strength is far greater than any stone of circumstance. So the circumstance, that word means that which is standing around us, right? It's a circumstance, a thing happening. So the thing that is standing around us is a combination of our own thinking and a collective unconsciousness, which is also called the collective unconscious or race consciousness, right? But more powerful than all of that is the infinite presence, the presence of love that is standing within me, that is within you, and all around me, above me, beside me, below me, and within me, and you. And then we can see right through those walls. We see right through them. Instead of fighting with the stones or accepting the stones as just the way it is, we go within and solidify our majority with all that is. Anchored in truth, present, available, with spirit, right? Yeah. So I was reminded when working on this talk of my moment of clarity. Excuse me. My moment of clarity, I'm not going to go into the gory details, don't worry, unless you want me to. No. No. So basically, I'd been drinking a lot, right? I was drinking and drinking. I started drinking in college, and we were partying, and I was in a co-ed business fraternity, and we were having a blast, right? And then I graduated college, and then the drinking continued, and it was happy hour, and then it just kept going. It was progressively getting worse. And then I remember I had called in sick from work one day, because I was on, now I know it's called a bender. I didn't know that's what it was back then, but I had partied so much or drank so much the night before that I could not go into work the next day. And so hair of the dog is how I got through it, right, of course. And I found myself drinking, and there was vodka and beer, and I'm there like in this stupor, unconscious, and I'm watching TV, I'm watching reruns of Sex and the City, and I don't know what's going, why am I doing that? And suddenly though, I don't remember what time it was, but suddenly there was a voice that said, "It's time to stop drinking, Elizabeth." And I wondered what that was, right? It was like, okay, but I don't know how, and so my response was, "Show me how." And it did. And so this was a power greater than myself. It seems like God came to me, but I went to it, right? I could have just brushed it off, but I went to it. Show me how. Let's stop right now. Let's do it, And then I did. And it turned out quite beautifully. And so that was an amazing moment, right? We're not all going to have that kind of moment, but that's coming to God, letting go of what you're doing and what you think your life is about so that you can live the life that God intended for you. Yes, right? Yeah. Being present to the job that you have so that you can be all that you can be in that job. Being present for the relationship that you're in so that you can be all that you can be in that relationship. Yeah. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful place to be. And so I also want to talk about transition versus transformation. So a friend of mine used the following analogy that really helps make this distinction between transition and transformation. So imagine you find yourself swimming in the ocean. Any swimmers in the room? Oh, cool. All right, so swimming in the ocean would be easy for you, but suddenly a riptide starts pulling you out to sea. I know, and you're battling against it, right? Some of you may have experienced this. You're making a little progress, but it keeps pulling on you. And then all of a sudden, a couple of stronger swimmers come along and help you. And after a long struggle, you get back to the shore, and you're okay, and you're like, wow, that was quite a journey. That's transition, right? The long, slow struggle to make things better. Anyone in transition right now? Right? Yeah. There's this long and slow struggle, right, to make things better. But transformation is different. Transformation is when you suddenly wake up realizing you were in your bed dreaming, you're completely dry, and you were never in any real danger at all. Get that? Right? Yeah. Wow. So transformation comes not through struggle and extreme effort or heroics on our part. It comes from connecting with the deep but often unconscious truth of our being. Transition can improve our situation, but transformation radically alters it at the core. So what our world is calling for is not battling with the transitional forms that appear in front of us as stone walls, but a transformation, which can only come from turning away from the battle and turning toward the infinite. Right? Amen. And we can ask, would I rather be right about my cause or my stone, or would I rather surrender to a greater way, a greater love, a greater freedom, a greater joy, a greater whatever it is for you? We all have our own stones, right? Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. What would I rather be? Right about my stone or happy? Would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? Happy. Raise your hand if you'd rather be happy than right. Come on, Travis. So funny. So transition and transformation along those lines. When I moved from the Bay Area to the Central Coast, I didn't know that this series of amazing things were going to happen for me. I was just done with what was happening in that area. You know, I was working too much. I was traveling all over the Bay. I was trying to make ends meet. I felt like I was a hamster on the wheel in this sort of rat race, and I was exhausted, and things weren't, progressing along as I imagined they were supposed to be at that time. And so it just was too much, and there was some suffering. I was sad about it. I wanted to stay there because I had this great love for it, and I had this whole thing about not wanting to move and wanting to have roots somewhere, and so I finally had these roots, but I was so unhappy. Have you ever done that to yourself where you're like, I'm going to just keep being here because I said I wanted this and I'm unhappy, right? And then you finally go, what? And so then something little happens in your life, and the little tiny thing has you go, oh, that's it, right? I'm done with this. And then it's time, So there was Spirit nudging me along this whole time, nudging. And so I had this conversation with my mom, and she was like, yeah, come and stay at our place. We've got this room. So I got to come over, and I took like 6 months off and walked the beach. I hiked everywhere. I had so much fun. I had a great tan. I was feeling great about myself. And then I met up with Travis before leaving, and I didn't know that was going to reignite this fire and beautiful relationship that we had previously 10 years ago, but we connected, and then he ended up coming over here, and we got a place together. All of that could not have been planned, right? Like, it was about surrendering to God and going with the flow and being present and saying yes to what comes into my life, right? Letting go of, like, I thought I was going to be a minister at the Center for Spiritual Living San Jose, and I was holding on to that for a while, right? For years. It was not happening. It wasn't my place. Right? But I was so determined. But when I let go of that mental grasp on that thing that I thought was my thing, then all of this beauty came into my life, right? So Travis came into my life. We ended up at the Central Coast Center for Spiritual Living, and then we ended up here, and like, life just keeps getting better and better. And it's like, what else is possible, Spirit? What else is possible? So much good is waiting for us, but we've got to surrender to the good that wants to be experienced in our lives. Let go of what you think it's supposed to be so that you can be in what it is, right? Yes, amen. So Ernest Holmes declared, to daily meditate on the perfect life and to daily embody the great ideal is a royal road to freedom. I love that. It's not to meditate on my idea of a perfect life, but the perfect life, right? Now, this calls for us to surrender our own idea to make room for the greater idea. Emerson is the one that invited us to get our bloated nothingness out of the way of the flow of the divine circuits. He's telling us the same thing. We all come to a point where our ego and intellect finally has to admit, I don't know how to do this. Me when I stop drinking. Show me how. Me being in the Bay Area and wanting to get out and then just following the spiritual breadcrumbs, you know. It is said that a bad day for the ego is actually a good day for the soul. A bad day for the ego is a good day for the soul. So when we have finally banged our head against the stones of life enough, we have the opportunity to turn to that which is greater than we are. But it's not to get this infinite presence to do things my way, you know? Dang it, no, it's to let go of my way for the highway. What's the highway? What's the high road? And how do I get on it? Right? This surrender is required for us to experience that true transformation. And so we invite this transformation by being still, asking and listening. We invite this transformation through the practice of visioning, by imagining taking our stone and placing it on the altar of God and saying, I've done all I know. I've exhausted my resources on this. God, this is now yours. And to let that divine presence instigate that healing, right? Initiate. It's already doing it. It's already trying to do it. We've just got to get out of its way, don't we? And it's possible. We must turn alone to the infinite. Alone means without our agenda, without our plans, without our conditioned sense of right and wrong. We got to let go of our false gods and seek the kingdom of the one that is right within us. Only then can everything else be added. Are you guys with me? Yes. Woo! That's good stuff. So wrapping up today and this month of July, it's time to rest from the battles that we have been experiencing, of good and evil, right and wrong, the standards and morals. Like, we want to be about values and principles. What's a value and principle? Love, joy, beauty, right? Etc. Instead of, you should be doing this, Susan. You should be doing, according to who, right? You should be doing this, Ethel, or Ethel telling me, you should not wear those shoes. Says who, right? That's, they're quite comfy. But you shouldn't, right? Or they should, or I should, or we should. You should all over yourself. But those are morals, like standards and morals. We're here in this Awakening Way Center for Spiritual Living. We're talking about values and principles. We are holding ourselves to higher values and principles, and that's what we do. So we stop beating our heads against the stones and know and remember that the spiritual principle of oneness, the spiritual principle that, oh, by the way, is this thing I call God, the divine, spirit, source energy, whatever you call it, that is a principle. And as I turn to that, I can stop beating myself up and stop causing an argument or whatever the case may be and live in a greater freedom and let the stones stand where they are and walk around them, as Gina so wisely reminded me of. Walk around them. See right through them and walk around them, right? We get to put down our swords and our shields and listen to the stones. What are they saying? What is their gift to us? Can I approach this with curiosity and wonder instead of anger and righteousness? Can I listen to someone who has a very different viewpoint from mine? Can I set aside that which I'm very certain I'm right about to ask, is there a different way to view this? Yes, right? Yes. Spirit is paradox. So it's natural that we would also be called to live in this paradox too, isn't it? So friends, spend time going within this sweet spring of the water of life that is fed by the infinite beingness. Be gentle with yourself and the world, and I will do the same. Maybe one day one of those stones will be a beautiful and valued part of your garden. So Joseph Campbell said, we must be willing to let go of the life we've planned to live the life that is waiting for us. And the questions that I invite you to ask yourself for this week are, what is a stone in your life that is calling for healing or resolution? And this stone could be like a tiny little kidney stone or like a big giant Stonehenge style stone. What might the stones in your life be calling you to be or to know? And third, can you get your bloated nothingness out of the way and turn to infinite presence instead? Has a way of dissolving everything, doesn't it? Unlike itself. So I'm going to now invite Travis to come up as we prepare for the closing prayer. And I invite you to do what I call the religious science shuffle, which is to stretch, scratch your nose, take things out of your lap, and whatever you need to do to just relax into this moment. And join me in turning your attention inward as we return to this beautiful, expansive space within. Each one of us remembers in this moment now that Spirit is all that there is. It is all that there ever was, and it is all that there ever will be. And I'm so grateful in this moment to know that this is the truth of my life, that this is true of every life. This is true of the entire manifest reality. All of it is the divine. And so as I get in touch with this presence of love within me, I begin to see this presence of love everywhere around me. And I'm so grateful for this presence of love. I'm so grateful for the joy and the beauty and the goodness of this human experience. There is so much good happening here and now. It is rich, and this is fertile ground, and it is an opportunity for us to plant these seeds of abundance and glory and victory, harmony, prosperity, health, joy, wisdom, all the good that we can imagine. We're planting these seeds right now. And the seeds that we have planted previously are coming up. They're sprouting up above ground, reaching towards the heavens, reaching up, growing into radiant, magnificent good all around us. And I'm so grateful that each one of us gets to see this beautiful love bloom in our lives, that we experience it everywhere we go. And as we go forward from here for the rest of this week, anytime there's a circumstance or a condition that seems to pop up like a stone wall, we are able to see right through it and refocus and recalibrate and come to the center of our being, this center which is the divine. And as we do and we experience this divine love, we are unstoppable. We are truly unmessable with. And this love, this presence, this beauty and glory and victory radiates out to all we come in contact with every step that we take, the ground upon which we walk. This beautiful earth is experiencing that high vibrational frequency of goodness. The people we come in contact with, and our friends and family and nature and everything is transformed because we are who we are. We are being who we are, spirit in form, and it has rearranged us. I am so grateful for this goodness. I'm so grateful for this day that Spirit has made. This is a celebration, and you are the guest of honor. And it's time to party down. I'm so grateful as I release this prayer into that loving and creative action of the law, where I know it is done, I know it is so, and I invite you to help me anchor this truth by saying with me, and so it is. Amen. Thank you.